How are you doing today? How are you doing today? I am your host, Lacey G. Soldiers Herner, and today I got a very, very special guest with me. He's an adventure illusionist. He's an explorer, a magician. He's an actor, producer, director, has done numerous and numerous of films. Just been doing this thing out here in the industry, and we finna get to know a lot about him. So, without further ado, I want to welcome to the platform the wonderful, amazing, talented Rich Manley. Welcome to the platform.
Hey, how you doing? It's great to be here and nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So, I want to let the people get to know a little bit about you. So, can you let the people know where were you born and raised, and how was your upbringing as a child?
Yeah. So I was born in Massachusetts. So I was born on the East Coast, and it was a small town in Mass, and I was really kind of a shy, introverted kind of kid, and I'd go out and I'd adventure in the backyard because we grew up in the woods, and it was a very small neighborhood. So that's basically what we did. We just knew everybody, and I'd be climbing trees, putting my brothers up to climbing trees, and all that sort of stuff. And it was just that small town feel. So going to the city when I actually came to LA and all that, it was a big shift for me, growing up in that small community.
Yeah, so I got you. So, one thing that I love also that I want to ask you, I've always loved this. How did you get into learning magic?
So the magic element, my grandfather, he actually was a magician and he was an explorer. So in the 40s, there was a group of surgeons that studied in med school. They studied sleight of hand to be better with their finger dexterity. And so he learned magic, sleight of hand more specifically. And that helped him with his surgery practice. But also, when he'd travel around the world, he'd found that if he went to certain places, that magic had a way of kind of bridging those cultures. If you didn't know the language or there was a cultural barrier, magic kind of brought everyone together. And I'd always hear his stories of when he came back and telling me, oh, I met these people here. He'd bring back little trinkets they'd show me, and I learned my first magic trick when I was 10 years old. That he taught me this really hard sleight of hand move that took me a long time to get.
Okay, so look, so was you hooked from the beginning? Once he taught you that, was you like, yes, I got to learn all this. I got to learn more and more.
Yeah, it was like, it was one of those things where I think he really wanted me to study patience, and that's what he was trying to teach me because it was a really hard move. And we'd have family get-togethers. I remember, everyone gathered around, and they're like, "Oh, let's see what what you were taught." And I do this. It was basically taking a card and making it vanish, and then making it reappear in your hand. And it's one of those things where you need kind of bigger hands. And I was 10, I had small hands, and it turned into like everyone just like, "Oh, that's good," but they could see everything that was happening. Um, but and my grandfather, he'd watch from the back and he'd say to me, it's not really about the trick right now. It's about that you're sticking with it. You've got the patience to stick with it. And I think that was a lesson he was teaching me. And that did kind of grow because I was like, oh, I want to master this. I was always someone who's like, okay, I can't just let him down or let myself down. I want to get good at this. And that led into more magic and reading books on magic and just dissecting everything and just learning.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So let me ask you this, Rich. What made you want to get into the film industry?
That was, I mean, it kind of, it's a weird thing. I fell into it in a strange way. I was always creating characters around the house. Like, I cartoons I'd watch, like I dressed up like Sonic the Hedgehog, I remember, and, like Aladdin and just all these, like I just like creating characters at home. And I guess every kid sort of does, but I kind of took it, further. I'd start like writing these stories with my brothers and we, act them out. And I never really thought of wanting to get into entertainment as a career. I actually wanted to be an archaeologist.
Mm,
And the reason being was because I loved Indiana Jones.
okay.
And then I started researching more in archaeology. I was like reading books, even like around 12 years old, I was looking paleontology, dinosaurs and Egypt, ancient Egypt. I was obsessed with mummies. And I wanted to be that Indiana Jones type of guy. And then I realized after going on a few digs locally that, was a lot of sitting and looking for things. Nobody was chasing you,
Like the movie. It wasn't like the movie.
Yeah. And so, that's what really got me into the entertainment side, because I was like, I enjoy telling stories, and creating stories and creating things. So, I just kind of incorporated all that adventure and the passion for history and archaeology and culture into, entertainment stuff.
Mm, okay. So, speaking of the sleight of hands, with your skills on your the new Tubi series, Culture Shock, shot in
Mhm.
Peru and Africa. Now, can you tell the people about that?
Yeah, the that was the first season, and that was really, it was an amazing experience. Peru just had these epic vistas. I remember I went to one shaman there, and it was like high up in Pinamarca. It's like 1,000 feet up, and um, with these Quechua people, and they wore these brightly adorned dresses, and they were doing this ritual to Pachamama, and it was cold, it was winter, and the clouds were covering the sky, and the shaman had said that this was a ritual that they would give thanks to Mother Earth, and if it was successful, she'd be happy, and there would be a sign, and we'd all have to give up something important to us. And so I did. I gave something important to me, and then it's burned, and then there's a prayer, and we had the whole village around us and our team, and me and the shaman. And I remember at the end, which was the craziest thing, and I've been to a lot of places and experienced a lot of strange things, but this was like, okay, maybe there is real magic, because after that the skies opened up and the sun came out after the ritual was done. It was like perfect timing.
That's
And
crazy.
I'm a skeptic on a lot of this stuff too. It's almost like I need to myth bust it, and because I do magic, so it's like, okay, I know there's a trick to it, but this really made me feel like, okay, there's something special, here.
Okay, so look, so you definitely got renewed for season 2 to be shot in Bolivia. How did that make you feel coming off season 1?
Yeah, so no, it's great. It's great. I mean, season one was really focused on the why, the
Yeah.
journal that my grandfather left me, of all the places he traveled, and that's kind of like the through line of the show, where, okay, he traveled here, let's go travel here, see what he found, and what's so interesting about this place and the people in this place. And then season two, really starts to delve into more adventure. He loved to adventure, and he loved, climbing. He liked fly fishing. I mean, he'd do that everywhere he went. So the second season is more like, we're going to Bolivia. We're going to meet the people there, and we're going to climb mountains with them. We're going to climb a 6,000 meter peak, learn what it's like to live amongst the mountains, especially at that high altitude. And some of the other stories will include those adventures too.
Okay, is that why you've been in the mountains lately?
Yeah, I've been training. I mean, La Paz is I mean, it's high. It's high
Yeah.
altitude, and we're gonna start there, and then we're gonna go even higher. So for me, it's like, okay, I live in LA, trying to get into the mountains, trying to train, trying to get ready for it, while juggling all these other things. So
I got you. I got you. So I also saw that you was going to be performing your live stage show, Diary of Magic. It's going to be toured around the U.S. with Eric Recker, who was Chris Angel's Mind Freak producer. Can you tell the people about that?
yeah. So this show is a stage show, and it's basically the TV show, but a stage version. So I'm performing on stage, telling the stories of the
Mm,
people I met, all the adventures, and then I'll do a magic effect on stage. Some of the stories I've heard from that particular region, like in Sri Lanka, for example, the Veda people, they worship, the dead, and so they have an exorcist there that performs rituals if someone in the village is sick. And there's a particular story I tell of when I went, and there was a girl that swallowed 50 needles. Then I invite someone on stage and say, this is what 50 needles look like. And I swallow needles. And I'm sure if you go to the show, you'll see what happens next. But there, things like that happen on stage.
okay, wow, that's crazy. Look, make sure y'all go out there and see that. So I want to talk about some things that you had some credits in of some films that I like. One of them was The Debt Collector. Can you tell the people the credits that you had in it?
Yeah, so Debt Collector played a character in that, and I've known Jesse, the director, for a while, Jesse Johnson. coming up through stunts and all that, because I do a lot of stunts. And he's a fantastic director. I mean, he knows how to do action movies. And so I played a character there who was this drug dealer with these other. He had these other friends in the house, and Scott Adkins is the main character, and we had owed him. We had owed money, and so there ends up being this whole feud and this and that, and then a fight between Scott and I, which was great because it was great to do a fight scene with someone like that and just be involved with the whole team there. It was an awesome experience.
Okay. Then one more film that I the Night and Day starring Tom Cruise and Cameron Diaz. How was that?
That was great. I mean, that was like the first film that I did, and that was set in Boston. So that was in my hometown, really. And it was great. James Mangold was great. He was the director in that. And he actually sent me a Christmas card that year after we had finished the movie saying thank you, which was really nice too, to do that. I never got to meet Tom Cruise, although I really, I wanted, I wanted to, but I met obviously Maggie Grace, Cameron Diaz. My character is he's getting married to Maggie Grace, basically. And so we had the whole wedding scene together. And, just meeting Cameron Diaz was amazing because, she'd just tell all these stories when the camera turned off, and she's just very, very chatty. She was fun. She was fun.
Okay. That sounds great.
Yeah.
So, can you tell the people about your action thriller that's in post-production, Fallen Cards?
Yeah, so Fallen Cards is a post-apocalyptic style film. It's like Mad Max type of deal. And it's set in the future where the world's collapsed, and there's this walled city that's kind of like a Vegas-styled wall city. That's like the last, last part of civilization that still exists. And inside that city, there's a magician, and so it's got the magic theme too. And that magician is, the biggest performance act there. And he finds out all these secrets that he ends up having to basically save the world that's broken between these warring factions of that city and the outsiders. And so it's a whole movie about that, about him getting caught in the middle of this war and having to use his skills as a magician to basically, save this broken world, which has been a long process of filming this because there's a lot of action, there's a lot of martial arts. It's a period piece in the sense of post-apocalyptic vehicles, chase scenes, but it's something that's going to be really awesome when it's done. So we're taking our time.
Okay, so you'll have no timetable when it's going to be complete or anything?
Yes. Well, we're looking to try to get it released the end of next year because we're waiting on Windows to do chase scenes and weather and all that. So
got you. I got you. Okay, so look, you've been doing a lot of things. I want to ask you, on your journey, what would you say has been your greatest challenge?
That's a good one. Greatest challenge would, I would have to say it's probably more so the ability to kind of be in the moment when I'm doing these things, because I mean, a lot of it is filming, and a lot of it I'm really focused on, the filming aspect of it. Okay, where where's the camera? Where are we shooting? What's the location? Who's the people? And making sure that the magic is all good when I'm doing magic for people. And a lot of the time that takes away from really being in the moment to experience the country or experience the adventure. If I'm climbing something, I'm always climbing and I'm thinking, okay, where's the camera? Is the camera here? Do I need to do we need to repeat this? And so I'm not noticing the beautiful scenery here. But I'm noticing it in the sense of, okay, is that a good framing? Because I'm climbing here, but I want to make sure they see this beautiful. So that's what goes through my mind when I'm doing all this. It's not, oh, I'm here, I'm enjoying this. And I think that's the biggest hurdle for me, is being able to separate the fact that a lot of these things I'm very hands-on with. And so to enjoy the actual experience of being there, and just take some time out to say, oh, wow, look, this is beautiful. Instead of being like, okay, we're out of time. We're out of time. We got to do this. We got to do that.
Yeah. Next. All right. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
So on the flip side of that, what would you say has been your greatest accomplishment?
Um, I don't ever like to say that something has ever been a greatest accomplishment. And the only reason I don't say that is because I'm always thinking of, what's next, what's going to be the next thing that I want to do. And so when I say this has been my greatest accomplishment, even though I've done a lot of things, I kind of, I don't so much forget about it, but I say, okay, I'm putting that away, putting it aside because
Yeah.
I'm kind of my cup's full right now. I'm emptying it. I'm starting over. I'm building something else. I've got these new goals I'm after, and I never kind of dwell on the things that I've done or accomplished or failed on. It's just kind of what's next,
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely understandable. So let me ask you this. You've been in the industry doing a lot as far as films and magic. What advice would you give to somebody who would probably like to get in the film industry or become a magician too?
I think nowadays, especially now because there's social media and everything, and there's so much access to this content and to be able to produce it and also to view it. I think it's just you can wait for something to happen, or you can think of how to make it happen, and then just keep going, keep going, keep going. And I always bring it back to that card trick that my grandfather had me learn. It's the patience to keep going even if you keep failing. And
Mhm.
it's there's going to be a lot of failure, but it's like if you set your mind on that objective, and no matter what, you're going to hit that objective in your mind, then
Mhm.
you just keep going forward. And no matter how many times you fail, you say, okay, this route failed, but I know this is where I want to be. So I'm going to find different ways to keep getting to that point, but just to never give up on that objective. And I think that's the biggest thing. And especially when there's all this social media, you've got YouTube, you've got Instagram, you've got TikTok, you've got all these
Right.
platforms to put content out. I think that's really important. And it's also important to develop a story for yourself, know who you are. Because
Mhm.
sometimes I think it's, people want to put things out or do things for the sake of being recognized, but
Yeah.
that will only last so long. You need to have what makes you you. And
Right.
so when you figure that out, what makes your story unique and different, and it's because it's you, then that's the path you keep following, you know?
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah, I see that Rich over here dropping jewels. Oh yeah. So do you have anything else coming up that you want to promote?
Yeah, right now it's a season 2 that we're doing. I've also got I've got playing cards that just came out on my website. They're custom playing cards based off of my brand that I did in collaboration with Bicycle Playing Cards. So you can pick those up at www.expeditionrich.com. And I'll also have a book coming out as well with all the travels that I'm doing. And then another film that we're going to be shooting probably next year. It's a James Caan film. We know that James Caan passed away. It was really sad. This was actually his last film that he was able to do that hasn't been released.
Mhm.
And so we took some time off from it after that, and we're revisiting. It's called Acre Beyond the Rye. We're revisiting that, and we're probably going to finish that early next year as a release as well. So
Okay, okay. Look, Rich, you're staying a busy man. You're staying a busy man. So my last question that I love to ask all my guests. So
yeah, yeah.
when it is all said and done and you are long gone from this earth, what is it that you want the people to know about Rich Man?
Man, that's a deep question. That's a
Mhm.
deep question. I always said the reason I do this and create things is not so much for me as a person, but it's the collective message within everything that I do. So, I mean, all the things I write and all the projects I work on, and even when it comes to just acting projects that I've been offered, I always think to myself, what is this going to leave behind, and what's the message behind it, and how does it relate to what I want to, share with the world? And I think it's just I'd like to leave behind, especially with this culture shock series, is connection, is how we are all connected, because there's so many various so many different areas of the world. But I found that when you do magic, when you do something for someone in a group of people, everyone, all this, if you're in different parts of the world, people may have certain prejudices to other parts of the world. But when you do something like this, that all melts away, and we see how we're all connected. in a way, as human beings. And I think that's what I like to try to do with all of my work, is see how that is all related. And even the stories that I write in terms of the acting projects, it's all about a broken world. How can we rebuild that world? Why did it collapse? Relationships among people. And that even goes with the James Caan film that we did. That's all about GMOs in this corn crop, government conspiracies, how it's affecting us. And then it actually is a horror movie because it's kind of like a 28 days later type of thing, but more of a Shutter Island. So it's mysterious, but they all have that message. Like, how are we connected? Human stories, remembering, who we are as people and not getting sucked into the electronic age so much, but just taking a step back. And I think that's probably what I'd want to, in a long-winded response, what I'd want to.
That was good. That was good. Well, I want to thank you, Mr. Rich Manley, for giving me your time. I appreciate it. You dropped a lot of jewels, and I love the stuff that you're doing. So, keep on doing what you're doing.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me.
No problem. I definitely will let Charles know when I write this article and drop this interview for you.
Awesome. All right. Well, I had a blast. You have a great one.
All right. You too. Talk to you later.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.